Withholding forgiveness and grace brings bondage. If forgiveness brings blessing, withholding forgiveness brings what? Bondage. I want to say that again. If forgiveness brings blessing, if me choosing to forgive you when you hurt me, if I choose to forgive, if that brings blessing in my life, when I choose not to forgive you, I withhold forgiveness, what am I opening my life to? To bondage. We're going to see this in just a moment very clearly. Psychologists, psychiatrists, people that work in the people helping facility, mental health area of service to communities, academics that study these kind of things, medical folks that study these kind of things will tell you that among a variety of things that cause mental and emotional struggles, psychological struggles in people are at least two things. There are lots of different things, but these two things are common, creating a lot of emotional, mental, psychological stress for people. Number one is not receiving forgiveness. Someone who lives in guilt all the time, and they never have understood how to be forgiven, and they haven't either received forgiveness from God or forgiven themselves, and they're always beating themselves up on the inside and feeling terrible about what they've done. They've never found forgiveness. That will just drive you crazy. It'll just eat you up on the inside. The other thing that will eat you up on the inside along those lines is not forgiving other people, carrying anger and bitterness inside of you. There are people that actually drive themselves crazy, if you will, by just the anger that they hold on to inside, the bitterness and the revenge they have toward people, and it messes their life up. See, oftentimes we think we're hurting someone else when we're angry toward them, but you're not really hurting them. They're going on about their life, and you're just being eaten up on the inside. Even physical ailments can be attached to unforgiveness. Did you know that's called psychosomatic illnesses? And so you get it in your head, something in your head about towards someone, and it can actually create problems in your own physical body. And so if forgiveness brings blessing, unforgiveness produces bondage. This is what Jesus is talking about here. He's talking about this latter thing of not being willing to release or to forgive. Because in the story, he continues the story by telling about this man going, after receiving forgiveness, going to his fellow servant and then making him pay, and he couldn't pay. And of course, he ends up being thrown into prison to pay. And then the servants hear about it, and the king says, "Come back to me. I forgave you. Now you didn't show forgiveness to your fellow servant. I'm going to now throw you into prison where you're going to be tortured." This is something that we don't often recognize. We don't recognize the fact that when you and I are living in unforgiveness, we're actually living in a jail cell that we created ourselves. We end up in a place of torture in our life, spiritually and mentally and emotionally, and as I said a moment ago, sometimes even physically. We're bound up instead of free.